Hi everyone, my name's Judy. Welcome to Tara Institute, to the Monday nights that have been going for a long time, is that right? Yes, so tonight we'll do some meditation, I'll do some talking, and we'll see how we go. So, talking mostly for beginning about meditation. Meditation is, if you come regularly, you'll probably have heard it from all of us senior teachers. Meditation is basically about just focusing not on our distracting thoughts. And it's a way of holding a sort of mirror up to ourselves to see how actually distracted we really are. I don't know if phones and social media make us more distracted, but we sort of let all these distracting thoughts come, and a lot of them are not really helpful. Some of them are. So meditating is sort of focusing on what we choose to focus on. So we have some sort of control over focus. So it's not being under the control of the thoughts or the distractions, basically. So it's a way of gradually training our mind. Like, as I've said before, we can't really train our minds to be, super athletes or our bodies, but we can all train our mind. We can all develop positive states of mind up to very high states of mind. So it's about controlling our focus and our thought, and it's also about ultimately through what is calm abiding, which is a very advanced state where one can focus on whatever one wants to or for as long as one wants to, like in terms of days, weeks, months. But that's a bit of a long path, that one. Also, we can ultimately use fine analysis. Once we've have some sort of control over our mind, we can use a fine analysis to look at reality, to look at the ultimate reality, which in Buddhist terms is emptiness, the lack of inherent existence. So that's another sort of function of meditation. So we usually choose, Geshe Doga, who teaches on Wednesday night, he always does breathing meditation because I think that precedes anything else, any other sort of meditation. If we can focus on our breath for a certain amount of time, then that's how we proceed. And then I will do some other meditation later, and later I'll talk about love and compassion in Buddhism in particular. So in terms of meditation, the other night I was talking to someone who used to come here. He doesn't come so often, but he said to me he wasn't into the religion. He was just into meditation. And I thought, yeah, fair enough. There's lots of meditation is not just specific to Buddhism. There's many different types of meditation, and many places, many organisations do meditation. So I thought, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But then I thought, well, the Buddhist path, the Buddhist sort of meditation is it has more that focus on developing love and compassion in particular, and then bodhicitta. So that's when people take refuge. I was talking about refuge last week. Refuge in the three jewels, that means that one is on the sort of Mahayana path, which is the path of wanting to become enlightened for the benefit of sentient beings. Now, in other religions, I suppose, people, go for meditation to become liberated from their suffering, meaning they don't have any disturbing thoughts and things like that. So they attain nirvana. So nirvana is liberation from suffering, disturbing, from all suffering, for oneself. But Buddhists would say, well, okay, that's great to do that for yourself, because at least then you're not being a person who's creating harm for other people. But they would say you need a bigger focus, and they often say their path is like a greater path, and they don't mean it's better, they just mean that it focuses more on sentient beings. So it's like, okay, you can become liberated, attain nirvana, but Buddhists would say then you need to, it's a good idea to become enlightened so you can show others the path, how you got there, the path to get there, the path to cessation, as they call it. So that's what I was thinking when he said that about the religion, not so much. And that's why, that's the sort of what the Tibetan religion is more, well, the psychology as well. So, it's to go that, it's to create a bigger field, and a bigger field of sentient beings, all sentient beings. So you get more merit, which is good karma. You get more sort of good karma by focusing on sentient beings. That's what they say. That's why they say it's a more altruistic sort of path. And they will sometimes call the other paths, the path to nirvana, a lesser path. But it's not because they think it's any worse, it's just because they think it's lesser focus, lesser opportunity to become enlightened and help all others. So, talking about meditation, if one wants to practice meditation, one is advised to, sit in a comfortable position, and we usually do focus on the breath at first because it's a neutral object. We talk about objects. A positive object would be focusing on the Buddha, or focusing on a positive subject like love and compassion, or wisdom. And a negative thing would be one of those negative distractions, or anger or attachment, or so we don't focus on those. We try and focus on positive things for ourselves and others. So we're advised to mainly to be comfortable, and the difficulties one might have in meditating are excitement, which is the distracting thoughts, and so one is advised to just come back to the focus, original focus. And the other obstacle in meditation is dullness or a laxity. They call it laxity. And that's where one might think that they're meditating, but one is actually in a peaceful state, but it's a sort of a dulled, almost soporific state. So those two states are obstacles to good meditation. And then the main tools, mental tools, because meditation is a mental sort of activity, are mindfulness, which is really basically just remembering the object that you're focusing on, and introspection, or sometimes awareness, I think they call it. So introspection is sort of just like a watch person watching, what's going on in one's mind. And if one does drift off or is getting distracted, then it sort of brings one back to the focus. So we can try some breathing meditation for now. And the posture is comfortable, mainly comfortable. I mean, sure, if you can sit in a lotus position, that's great, but comfortable, because if you're not comfortable, it's hard to focus. And but the traditional posture is to sort of try and keep your back straight, because I suppose if your back isn't, you could be uncomfortable. And to make sure your arms are relaxed, not too tight against the body and not too bent outwards so that you fall forwards. And shoulders, just make shoulders relaxed, and teeth on the top palate. And one's eyes, if whatever's really easier. If you close your eyes, you might fall asleep. If they're too open, the light might be distracting, but whatever suits really, I think. So we always, we sit in our position, and we always motivate. We have motivation, because however you motivate, that's more likely that that's going to happen. That we set the motivation so that what we're doing does follow. So motivation can be just to experience our mind, a calm mind. And it can be up to, may this be a cause for me to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings, which would be the ultimate motivation. So we just take a few moments to relax. And we're going to focus on our breath, going in and out our nostrils. And we can get a sense, almost like a visual sense of that, or a sense of the breath going in and out. And we focus 100% on that. If we get distracted, just come back to the breath. And just experience the normal rhythmic breathing. So we'll do that for a few minutes. Keep the focus on your breath. Okay. How did we go with that? Any comments? We can also do breathing meditation as a preliminary to other meditation. So then go on to other sort of meditation. So one can do it for as long as one feels. If one feels, agitated, or this is getting too long, or this is, we're advised to do it in short bursts, not bursts so much, but short sessions, because you don't want to you don't want to dislike it and think, I'm not going to do that again. It's like, that was too hard. Oh, I've just remembered, I've got to turn my phone off. Sorry. So I thought I would talk about love and compassion. Without compassion, compassion is the basis of achieving bodhicitta, becoming a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is someone whose wish is to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that's the bodhisattva, and bodhicitta is the awakening mind, the awakened mind, the mind of enlightenment, meaning the mind that really, really wants to achieve enlightenment, has developed renunciation and, wants to achieve enlightenment so that they can help all beings, because we develop compassion. Now we have compassion, yeah, sure. We have compassion for, our friends and loved ones. We have partial compassion. We feel compassion. The definition is a sort of an unbearable feeling of not wanting others to suffer, like finding it quite unbearable, their suffering, and it's accompanied with an intention, like a wish to do something about it. So when we look at compassion, we can see that we've got very limited compassion. It's usually limited to the people we love, to the people around, and sure, we hear about tragedies happening and we feel, oh, that's terrible. But when it often comes to it, our ingrained sort of beliefs and our upbringing, and if we have an argument with someone, we don't agree with them, we don't accept their views, we do develop, well, we call them enemies, but we do develop people we don't like. So compassion means for everybody, like it means compassion for the guy who throws his kid off the bridge to spite the wife or the mother, the person who destroys their country in a Pyrrhic victory just so that no one else can live there, in terms for domination and strength, and all those other people who do terrible things. So we have to have compassion for them. Is that possible? Can we have compassion? Well, if we are looking at universal compassion, yes, we need to develop that. But the thing is that because of cause and effect, people who do, things like that, like really bad things that we might find we don't have any compassion for them, or we might even wish that they suffered the way they treated others. Well, they will. They will suffer like that in terms of cause and effect, or karma. So we, can have compassion because they are acting under a delusion. They're under the control of the delusions. It's like they say, look, the person who hits another, it's really not, it's the person is under the control of delusions, anger, and deluded mind. It's the stick that hurt us, and we need to understand this is in terms of developing patience, that the person's out of control, really. And also we say, well, if our mother were crazy and tried to, hit us, like if our mother was a bit deranged or something, we would have compassion in that case. So we are urged to meditate on frequently on developing compassion, because if we don't, we can't really progress further. And we're encouraged to develop love being the wish for people to be happy and not suffer. But as Lama Tsongkhapa, one of the great Tibetan Buddhist sages, said, you know, we run after happiness, but we create the causes for suffering. We don't want to suffer, but we create the causes for suffering. So people who do create terrible deeds, you know, will suffer. So we can have compassion for them, you know, in that sense. And we can have, I mean, the love is the universal love, wanting all beings to be happy. So, I mean, it's a bit hard. What we should do is be mindful when we're out there, you know, when we're out in the supermarket or when we're having difficulties with family or things like that. Be mindful. Can we develop compassion for this person? You know, can we develop love for this person? Because if we can't, well, then we're, you know, we're still subject to sort of attachment and anger, and that's not going to really help us. So with the also, if there's different methods for developing bodhicitta more, but compassion in the process, and one of them is to see people as being attractive. You know, like even a person you think is horrible, ugly, maybe even mean. You know, a mean person can look ugly, sort of. Even we are encouraged to see them as attractive and pleasant. And if we see them as attractive and pleasant, then we can't use the excuse. You know, it's not as though they're going to be any better towards us if we see them like that. It's not as though they're going to behave any better. But if we try and see them as pleasant and attractive, even if they're not, like if we try and see them, then we can't use an excuse. We have no excuse anymore to, you know, to treat them any different from anyone else, from those we love, if we see them as pleasant and attractive. We can't use that excuse that they're, you know, that they're unpleasant, and so that's one thing. But also, there's the sevenfold cause and effect, which is a method of developing, as I said, bodhicitta, but compassion is essential. And so that's because all beings, because mind is beginningless, our minds is beginningless, which is a pretty weird concept, I know. It goes back because mind, this state of mind, is preceded by the previous one. And that one is preceded by the previous one, going right back into when we were born, when we were children, or when we were born, and even before we're in the womb. So that's the reincarnation. It's because mind is beginningless, right? And because it's beginningless, we've had lots of rebirths, untold, uncountable rebirths, and so we've had to have mothers in those rebirths, and the mothers, so all beings have been our mothers, not only once but many times, in different states, you know, in different states. We've gone from high to low, and so all beings have been our mothers, and so we wish to repay the kindness of our mothers, even if we don't particularly like our mother, or she was, you know, not the ideal mother. She still sort of looked after us so that we're here now, you know, like she still didn't abandon us, you know, when we were a baby, and, you know, if she did, we would have, you know, died really quickly. And if meditating on the mother is a problem, just think of someone else. Choose someone else. That's a positive sort of influence. So we want to repay the kindness of the mother, and then we remember the kindness of the mother, and then we want to repay the kindness of the mother. And so then we develop compassion for all the beings that have been our mothers, and then we have love for them. And then we think, well, okay, that's all very well, but what are we going to do? How are we going to help them? You know, like, is someone else going to do it? Are we going to leave it up to all those good Samaritans, all those people who are much better at doing it? Or who else is going to help them but ourselves? So then we think, well, what's the method to help? And that is that we become enlightened, and then, show them the path. So compassion is essential in that sense. And the other way of, sort of developing bodhicitta is to is exchange self for others. So the Dalai Lama was saying that Buddhists, that the Buddha became enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings, and so that does mean us and all sentient beings. So if we think about that, that's I think it is a pretty amazing thing to think, well, become enlightened, till all beings are enlightened. That's a very long-term project. And then there's exchanging self for others, because we really, really, really cherish ourselves. We do, and we cherish a few others that are close, but we don't cherish others. So we're encouraged to exchange that cherishing ourselves and transfer it onto cherishing all others. So if one's thinking in this way, one is not focused on oneself. I mean, all our problems really are from focusing on ourselves, I mean, we've got to look after ourselves and, try and improve ourselves and but worrying about focusing on ourselves doesn't bring that much happiness. We're told also that helping others makes one happier than focusing on oneself. So, lots of things to think about. We can do a meditation. Oh, and then there's another. They say about developing compassion. They say that sentient beings are like a bucket in a well. There's a traditional sort of Buddhist analogy. So we're like the bucket. The bucket goes down the well really easily. It's on a bucket on a windlass, and someone's, turning it, and the bucket goes whoom down. It clangs against the bottom. It makes a lot of noise. It sort of bangs and crashes, and that's us going from high to low, to lower realms, suffering realms, lower realms. And then the effort to get the bucket full of water back up requires someone to turn the windlass and get the bucket back up. That's like us going from low to high, to higher states of rebirth they're talking about. And that's hard, that's a big effort. They say that the amount of people who go from low to high is like the grains of sand on your finger, and the amount of people who go from high to low is like all the grains of sand in the world. They're very, these are all meant to encourage you, encourage you to sort of, it's laid on quite thick. So we're encouraged to see all of us as that, is sort of being like the bucket, going down and with great effort to get up. Yeah, so I think we could do a... oh, and then there's also one other meditation that's to develop, compassion and bodhicitta. That is Tonglen, which is called taking and giving. So that's where we take in the form of black sort of light, the sufferings of all beings. Their suffering, we take them in, we don't want them to have that suffering, we take it into us, and it goes into this deep black self-cherishing that we have, and it destroys it. And then with our right nostril we give out white light, which goes into all beings in the form of whatever they need. So that's called giving and taking. It's a bit hard to do sometimes. It's a bit, to take on all that. But we're not really taking on the suffering, we're just sort of trying to change our attitude. So I thought we could do we'll do some breathing meditation, and then we'll do a meditation about developing love, about developing positive states of love. So, as I've said before, it's rather difficult, we are all partial, and, we all have good intentions, we're all really good people, we all try to do the best, but if we can just try a bit more to, be mindful of how it operates, and try and extend, in this we try and extend our love to, first of all, our loved ones. We get the feeling through our loved ones, the feeling that we have the warm feeling, and we try and extend it out into those who are close to us, which is easy, and then we extend it further to those who might be difficult, the same feeling, and then eventually to all others too, strangers who we don't care about, sort of, really. So we'll start with a breathing meditation. This is just to counteract our sort of discrimination. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of breathing meditation to relax, and we bring our focus into our body. And our focus is our motivation is to develop universal love for all beings. Because we're going to feel better if we have that state of mind. Okay, and we let all our thoughts and worries subside, and we concentrate on our breath for a moment. And we start by imagining all sentient beings around us, as far as filling the whole universe, all in human form, all beings surrounding us. On our right side is our Father. and on left is our mother, and all beings close to you, all of them around us. And then in front of us, we visualise those who we've had difficulties with, who've hurt us or who we dislike, in front of us. And then extending in all directions are all other beings. And imagine a sense of peace and harmony pervades all beings, all the beings, as far as one can imagine. And just think how wonderful it would be if you could love all these beings. Because they all just want to be happy. They're like us. They're exactly the same. They want to be happy and they don't want to suffer. Even though some of them are angry and violent. Now we develop a feeling of love in our heart by thinking about someone we love, and it can be a feeling of a warm, bright light which fills our body, pervades our body, it goes from our heart, our whole body. And we are light, made of light, but filled with love. So imagine this light fills our whole body and that we are capable of getting over all our difficulties and experiencing this love for ourselves. Because if we don't have that feeling, we can't really extend it to others. So imagine that we can overcome all our difficulties, all our problems. This light pervades us. So really, this energy pervades us and makes us happy. We extend this out to all the beings near us, to our father of this life and mother, and to all the beings around us. The same feeling. and wishing all the beings to have complete happiness, that all their positive wishes, everything may come true for them, that they may have everything they need. And we extend that out to people we've had difficulty with, wishing them all the happiness, that their minds can become happy and contented. And the light extends out to them, pervades them, their mind and body. Thinking that may everybody, all of them, may everybody have no problems, be completely happy, lead a long and happy life. All their problems fade away in the light, in the warm, loving light. Love is wanting everyone to be happy. So extend the light, the warmth out, and including everyone. And so we can conclude by thinking that we do have the potential to love everyone. All our negativities, our inability to not, is just transitory. It's not an inherent part of ourselves, and we can develop our love to extend to all beings. And then we can dedicate any merit that we gain from that. We'll keep our mind open and try to overcome our prejudice, our partial love and compassion. Okay, we can focus back in the room now. So yes, we do all have the ability to develop universal love and compassion, because our thoughts and feelings are not inherently part of us. They come like clouds in the sky, they come and go. Because we're not always angry, are we? Sometimes we are. So that means that we're not angry person. That we do have a mind like a clear, open sky that's capable of universal love and compassion. Because if we were, we say, oh, we're hopeless, always angry, always lose it, I can't handle that. Well, that's all temporary, because we don't always feel like that. So we do have the ability to develop these states of mind. So is there any questions about any of that? No? Everyone's all got that down well? So do you want just one thing one can? Have impartial compassion? Even for people we think are, you know, maybe not deserving of it? I think in theory we can, and if we're mindful, you know, in our daily life and sort of think, oh, there it goes, you know, the thought of, I don't like that. Well, we do think that. I suppose we do have to discriminate it. We do discriminate in some ways. You know, we do say, look, that's not good behaviour. You know, that's not good. But in Buddhism, someone who, as I said before, who does something reprehensible or something, you know, is a real object of compassion, actually. I know the lamas are often very sort of friendly, more friendly with people who are a bit difficult. I think encouraging them, you know, because they have great compassion, I think. So we're all urged to, you know, develop this, to be mindful of this. And another meditation that can be done, I did last week, is the equanimity. Because before we can have any sort of compassion, we need to develop equanimity, which is this friend, enemy, stranger meditation, which those of you who might come regularly would know that one, which is where, you know, you see they're all interchangeable. I was just having a conversation today with my best friend, and she was in big trouble because she hadn't asked some other friends to a dinner party, and she was devastated, and they said they didn't want to know about her anymore. Like, well, this lifelong friends, these are friends from lifelong. And I said to her, oh, you know, friend become enemy, enemy become friend, it becomes friend with a word, or, you know, not a word, and stranger. And she said, yeah, she's a bit cynical. She said, yeah, and stranger becomes stranger. I thought, oh, okay, and she's not going for the Buddhist trip. So it was, you know, but it was a real example of it. You know, very close people from long time. Anyway, so yes, I think we all have to soften our attitudes, and because it doesn't come naturally, really. Even though, as I said, a lot of us are very kind, and you know, we should work on it, you know, by being mindful and positive and trying some meditation. Yes, so yes.
I associate first off with compassion,
Yeah.
which is can be a very powerful thing, but can you equate compassion to patience?
Yeah.
Beginning with patience, and patience leading into compassion, because without the humanness of ourselves, it's humanity that we struggle with. So that, you know, can we begin with patience and then lead probably to compassion?
Yes, patience. Yes, definitely. That's one of the, you know, the 6 perfections that the Bodhisattva would develop. Yes, definitely patience, because patience sees, you know, it tries to change the seeing the other person as, you know, as harmful, like as being harmful. You swap it around. So, and seeing that the attitude of anger just causes one to experience in the future negative experiences. Yeah, so patience is, I'd say, very much tied up with that. Yeah. Because I think patience is more in our day-to-day dealings too with people. Yeah. And patience, we're urged to, you know, develop patience, because there's no, I mean, I suppose one needs to be assertive in some ways, but there's no advantage in being or acting out anger, because it just creates a propensity to experience that, because one's mind has that propensity to, experience it. So patience. It's like the one with the stick, the stick hurts. I find that a bit hard, but, like, it's the stick that hurt, not the person, because the person's like your deranged mother, like, you should have so much compassion for that. So, any other questions? Comments? Yes?
Just with all the teachers to get more gift and patience, the advice to do, like, I myself sometimes feel confused when in practice and how to apply a lot of things. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
that giving access to a teacher all the time, how does one be more?
Good question. I think that I've heard that it's good to know or examine what your sort of, as I used, your tendency is to. If you tend to, look, maybe one just wants to practice breathing meditation. One wants to calm one's mind. But if you find that you're a sort of a person who gets easily angry, there are antidotes to that. One could try a little meditation about the disadvantages of being angry. That will be one antidote. Or if one finds that one is sort of more, into attachment, like wanting, like say relationships, or wanting and failing in relationships, or some sort of dissatisfaction, or attachment in terms of things or experiences, that you're finding that that's the dominating sort of way you think, you could apply antidotes to that. So whatever you think is for you, like whatever. Apparently the Buddha taught, for everyone in different, for whatever their needs were. Whatever his words would mean different things, the things that people needed to hear. So I would say, if you find you've had a disagreement with someone, or you've been annoyed or something, I would sort of just go home and do maybe some breathing meditation, or, in the morning or in the evening, breathing. If you think the equanimity one, whatever, inspires you. Or if you're finding that you flare up, a person who gets a little bit angry maybe, or critical, or has a lot of attachment, to food and people and things and clothes. That's my attachment, which I'm trying to work on. So, all the things you think that could do a bit of improving. Yeah. And don't try. Look, I do 2 different meditations because I think maybe people, I don't know if they want to do 2 breathing meditations. I just do a breathing and another one. I'm not sure what the other teachers do. Yeah, I think so. I think yes, because breathing meditation deals with the disturbing thoughts, which can be anger or attachment or any of those things. So yeah, I think breathing meditation is. Well, Geshe Doga's been doing that breathing meditation for years and years and years, and so I think he would know best what we need, what's good for us, like he would recommend. And he says that the practices he talks about, he often advises people not to worry about advanced practices, because it's best to do the breathing meditation and to develop love and compassion. And he says that's what's, and His Holiness Dalai Lama too has said that's what's really helped them, having to leave their country, in absolute poverty, not knowing what, yet despite that they maintain a sort of happy, and like a very contented state of mind. And he says it's because of very basic practices. Yeah. Not like sort of realising, I'm sure realising emptiness or calm abiding or any of those high. But so a lot of the more advanced practices might be a waste of time, if you haven't developed. Yeah. So, okay, well, yes.
I was just wondering when you said focusing on other people could be better than focusing on yourself. Do you mean like focus on yourself or doing this?
Yes, well, they say that, like, focusing on oneself, I want this, I want that, I'm not happy about this, I really need that, the whole focus on oneself, worrying about oneself, getting really uptight and anxious over lifetimes, too, is a cause of suffering, like a real cause of, anxiety, depression, that sort of thing. Whereas if you can, try and focus on, maybe at least, I know we all help other people, but not being so self-centred. They say that the self-cherishing is really, it's really destructive. It's of no real benefit. We have to look after ourselves, yeah, sure, and we're encouraged to, get an education and have a job and, and we have to focus on ourselves in that sense. But the self-cherishing, putting oneself first, and not just, maybe even trying to be, smile or be happy with other people or help them in some way. So the less focus, the less self-cherishing, yes, definitely, the more happy. That's pretty well guaranteed, they say. So, yes. So that, and if you think about it, it's true. You see people who are, really focused on themselves, like to the point of distraction. It's not very, I don't think they're very happy. They might be now, but maybe later not. So, yeah. So that is His Holiness Dalai Lama says that if you focus on other people, you will be more happy than if you just focus on yourself. That if you're just selfish, self-cherishing, yeah. And he also says that we're all the same. We're all, all the 7 billion of us. We're all the same. Even the people who do terrible things, they do that because they think they've got to have that, or they've got to do that, or, that's going to make them have more power, more control. They think that's making them happy, but it's not. It's not. It's a cause of ultimate real suffering. And anyway, if we look at them, are they happy? No. All right, well, thanks very much, everyone. I'll see you next week. I've got to go up to Bendigo for the day and then come here and do some long meditations. Not really. All right. Thank you.